Lean back. Lean back. Lean back. Hey. But don't dance. We just pull up our pants and do the work away. Lean back. Lean back. Lean back. Lean back. So can I go live on my TikTok?
Yes, sir. Things fall apart. Classic.
Plastic.
Welcome to the Always for the Culture podcast. This is presented by Elements and sponsored by the United Way. Today's guest is very special to me. This is Anaya Nikole, the dancer. She's a fellow teammate of CA Squared, the team that we co-founded together. She's my sister for life. And I'm really happy to be here talking to you.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited. You know me. I was like, oh, I could be on a podcast?
Absolutely.
I'm important.
Even without this podcast, you're already important. Let's just put that out there.
Thank you.
Definitely need that to be known. How are you feeling?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm like you know, I'm nervous but excited because I don't know what I'm going. I don't know what I'm going to say because I always trip up. So I'm excited because, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad you're here, and this is just gonna be a fun conversation like we always have.
Just natural.
Just natural,
especially because you're my dance sister.
Exactly.
I mean, look at her. What?
So we're gonna make this really, really great. But I just want to get right into it. We're thinking about creative careers, and you really epitomize what I believe is the best example of a person deciding to go after their dreams, like with so much determination, so much just fire and grit, and you've decided to chisel out your own path toward a creative career and success. Now, could you tell us a little bit about just like how you just started with everything? Because you're with dancing, with acting, with everything that you do, like.
It was funny because when I was younger, my family, we used to have these get-togethers that my aunt and my grandma and them used to put together, and it would be around the holiday time or even just sometimes family reunions. We would go up to my aunt's house and our thing was talent show. We would always have a talent show, and for some reason I started just dancing. But that's when I did dance for fun. I was I just like to dance and just move my body. And then, what was it? Rise came out. Oh my goodness, with tight eyes? What? Oh, it's just everyone on there yeah. So then Rise came out. Me and my brother, shout out to Honcho, that came out, and me and my brother were just watching it, and we started getting into to crumping. Then the jerk movement came out, and my brother started jerking, and he taught me some jerking moves and stuff like that. And Step Up came out. So basically it was at a time where all of these dance movies started coming out. My mom would have me and my siblings perform. My mom and my dad, shout out to Fire Vibe One, they would have me and my siblings perform at their shows, and it was cute because we was little kids at the time, but it was fun. But then I just started seeing oh shoot, I can be a dancer and it not be a hobby. Because a lot of people would tell me oh, you're not gonna get nowhere. You don't want to make that a career. It's so impossible. It's hard. So you would hear that. So then I started cheering, and I cheered majority of my life. And I was there's something I loved it, but it wasn't a passion. And then so I remember being 15, and that's when Step Up 2 was out, and I think they was coming out with 3 or something. And I was like, Mom, I want to be on a dance team, not majorette.
Right.
I don't want to be on a drill team because at the time that was so popular in Cincinnati. And I was like, no, I want to dance gritty. I don't want to be pretty dancer, pretty cheerleader. I want to hit hard and just be, So she was like, okay, I got this friend. So then she called up Gossip, and, I joined the team, Studio Creative, And, that's where I met y'all. And then after a couple years on that team, that team really made me dig into hip hop and street dance, because I was like not familiar. I was self-taught at the moment. So I was just doing what my body felt. And after, that whole team disbanded and we joined, we made CA Squared, I was just like, oh shoot, like now we really got to push, because there was so many people doubting us. Yeah. And I think that was my thing, the thing that pushed me the most with dance and with myself, especially, like proving people wrong. And I know that's not always what we should use as a drive, but that was my drive.
Right.
And so then in the midst of us creating CA Squared, I also started thinking about myself, like, if I really want to make this if I really want to make dance a career, and I want to be a dancer, and I want to be an actress, and at the time I didn't really have any, like I did theater in middle school, but I didn't really like theater. I didn't want to sing on stage, and I wanted to do filming and acting like that. And so, but performing was all of that in one for me. So when I thought about it, and I'm like, because, we had to start thinking about college. And you and Chanel, shout out to Chanel, y'all really made me think about, well, what do I want to go to college for? Because at first I never really thought of that as like I wanted to go to school, but I didn't want to go in being like, oh, undecided. Right. I wanted to know what I wanted to do, because I knew, like my mom told me, if you are going to go to college, choose what you want to do, because she knew I wouldn't give it up. Like, she knew if I was going to be miserable in college, I was just going to be miserable and just try to stick through it. So she knew, like, do something you want to do, because once you do it, I know you're going to try to push through to the end. So when I started thinking about those things, and I was like, I want to be a full-time dancer, because I was exposed to people who were dancing their entire lives, and I'm like, this is what I want to do. So it's like, okay. And then my mom started telling me, like, oh, what your name should be. And she was like, oh, Lil Fire. No. and then it was like, oh, everybody used to call me Anaya the Dancer. So I was like, oh, okay. Because that's when I started changing my Instagram name. And I was like, Anaya the Dancer. No. And I was like, my middle name is so unique. I said, Anaya Nikole. N-I-Kole. I was like, yes, Anaya Nikole. So that's when Anaya Nikole started forming. And after that, like, it was just a drive. I wanted to prove everybody wrong for us, for me, and just do what I want. I was very headstrong. Like, I want to dance. I'm going to make this a lifestyle, not a hobby.
Yeah. So let's break that down. Where that's
a long response. I'm sorry.
And we love it. It's great. That's what we need to hear. But where does that determined fight come from? Like, what exactly were you fighting during all this time, this evolution, really? Because you evolved from like a teenager deciding I want to explore hip hop street dance, and throughout all that time, you're going through high school, you're dealing with family, you're dealing with a team, and all the dynamics within that. So, what were you fighting?
Myself, because I love cheer, but you're always happy with cheer. Yeah. But I was like, I need something because I'm a very emotional person. I don't like to show my emotions, but I am very emotional. So dance was like my form of therapy, like to let go and just be like, I can do whatever I want. People aren't going to judge me, because obviously all they're going to see from the naked eye is dance. They're not going to see, oh, she's hurt right now, or oh, she's happy, or oh, this, like, they're not going to see that. All they're going to see is, dang, she created a good piece, or dang, she performed that well. Right. But for me, it was a type of therapy where I'm like, I get to be free, unconditionally me. When I'm performing, I escape to a whole different world. And it's this adrenaline, this drive that you feel that rushes through your veins, and you're like, oh, it's like a drug. Sorry, but it is. Like, dance is like a drug for me.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, you hit it right on the nail. Like, when we do dance, our body is releasing like chemicals that's going through our body that allows us to attach those feelings of joy. You know what I mean? the passion, the fire, we attach those things to it because that's what's happening as a response to it. So yeah, it's a drug that happens within that our bodies create. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like that passion for what you love is what's fueling that feeling that, oh, I have to do this. I crave that so much.
Because I had so many people tell me, like, especially when I started college and everything, and I said I wanted to be a dancer, and I didn't make my major dance. I made theater my major because I am a person that when it comes to dancing, there is an element of acting in it. Because not every dance is just here.
Right.
And so, like Twitch said it very well on So You Think You Can Dance. He said that there's so many levels, so many pockets, so many things different when it comes to hip hop and street dance that people don't realize. And that was how I felt. Because a lot of people was just like, hip hop. When people see me, they're like, oh, you dance, you a stripper. I'll be like,
right.
No, I'm a hip hop dancer.
Right.
You got the body type of like, but no, I'm a hip hop dancer.
Right.
And then they be surprised because we come out like, instead of like, oh, 1, 2, 3. So
I'm glad you brought that up about the biases. There are definitely some inherent biases when they see somebody like you, like us, Black women, right? And then we say that we dance. There, for a lot of people, and I know we dealt with that a lot, and I know you can speak on it too, where the immediate reaction is immediately goes like some place completely opposite from what from what you actually do. And I think that goes back to what you're talking about, that fight. Can you talk a little bit about how, as an NKU student, because you graduated from Northern Kentucky University, but as an NKU student majoring or minoring in dance, studying dance, but you specialize in hip hop street dance, what type of response did you get when you entered this space where hip hop street dance wasn't necessarily the overarching dance form, the most popular dance form, the most understood dance form?
It made me different. Not gonna lie, because I could bring a lot of different elements to classes, because I did like contemporary, I did modern, but that also made me realize that they use a lot of hip hop techniques, or even if like my style of hip hop and street dance, like I'm very groovy. I like to isolate. I like to hit hard. I like to crump. I like to lock. I like to pop. Like they try to do those things at NKU where they're like, I want you to come at this with strength. And it's like, I was able to understand because of my hip hop background. So some things that if I were to not do hip hop, they would seem kind of harder. Like it was weird going in because some things came easy to me. Not everything, but some things came easy to me because I could think about certain things of hip hop.
Right.
And how I dance, but it was also like I was like the only, honestly, I was like one of the only ones that did real hip hop. A lot of people in KU did street dance, and grooves and party dances, but like I was the one who knew.
Right.
So they liked to use me a lot, not in, like use in a negative way. They like to bring me in and be like, Anaya, I need you, or what do you think about this? And I already had choreographed versus a lot of people going into NKU. Right. They were like just now learning because they had choreography class. I was in choreography class, and that challenged me too because that makes you think outside of the box. So, like you said, coming in as a hip hop student, and everyone else was like either ballet or modern. That's it. Like I didn't know how to leap. Hardest thing ever. I'm still learning how to leap. Like things like that did not come easy. It took a lot of work. Posture. Like hip hop, we chill. And then like at NKU, like imagine your teacher, straighten your back out. Okay, shoulders down. What do you mean? Like, but it's like with hip hop, you can connect your body because we isolate.
Right.
our isolations, like they do isolations in jazz. So like when we was doing that, it was easy. I was like, what? Man.
Right, because you already have a frame of reference.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and then adding that breath to the movement too. Yeah. With hip hop, you have to use your breath because it's so high energy but grounded that it's like so.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because the classical style of dance, when you think about the classics or whatever, you think of like the ballet. And then we think of more like contemporary dance styles. We think of hip hop, street dance, and they seemingly appear like diametrically opposed. But there is a lot of connection. I mean, hip hop, like you mentioned, a lot of the technique in hip hop, street dance, comes from an older style of dance, which we can track back to like the modern, right? And you know what I mean? With the isolations and really learning how to manipulate your body in a certain way. And I think hip hop street dance takes that idea and pushes it further. Like you mentioned, of we're isolating it, but then you like kind of continue and your body learns to connect in new ways. So yeah, I feel like you did sort of have an advantage that you probably realized as you were going into the program, like, okay, yeah, I may not be super like well acquainted to the classical form of ballet or modern or like thinking of that, but I do know about isolating because I studied under these big time like coaches who actually did this, who were part of the big burgeoning of like hip hop, and it spread throughout the country. And they taught us about isolation. They taught us about being able to like stop emotion, like stop a movement right as you do it. And that all kind of is useful when you think about like those other forms of dance. Like that strength, that power, like you said, becomes useful when you have to bring like the fire and the intensity to like a modern piece or a contemporary piece.
That made me think about, I remember a moment we were doing auditions for Dance 20. It was my senior year. And Tracy was like, she was asking me, are you going to try out, are you going to audition for, because I auditioned, but I was like, I'm going to audition for like 2-3 pieces. But she was like, no, I want you to audition for this contemporary ballet piece. I said, Tracy, I don't do ballet. And she's like, I need you to try.
Right.
I said, okay. And I end up being one of the like lead dancers for that piece. And I was just so shocked when I saw my name. I said, oh, like, okay. It was choreographed by Jay. And I was like, okay, like I could do this. I could do this. Like, that's cool. And it challenged me, but it made me like also see, dang, like it felt like a contemporary hip hop piece with some ballet technique, because he is classically trained. Like, he is amazing. So it felt like it felt like everything I felt familiar with with challenges.
Right.
And I was proud of myself because I was like, oh, like I could do more than I thought. Right. So like it just, how you said, like bringing that style in, because when he told us to improv, if anyone knows me, I love freestyle. That's your specialty. That's my favorite thing to do, because like I feel like I have this ear where like I can hear every single beat, and it drives me crazy. So like my body has to move. And so when he said freestyle, he put on this like crazy beat song, and all you see is he, like, after the dance was done, he said freestyle. I was everywhere. I was on the floor. I was turning everything. Everybody, like, people just stopped dancing and freestyle, and it was just me. And he was like, and I was like, oh, we're done. And I was just like there. It was the best feeling in the world, because like I just felt accomplished. Even if I, at the moment, didn't know if I got it or not, I felt good. So,
yeah, you really proved something to yourself. If you go back to that point you made earlier, but this time you weren't really proving it to others. You were really, revealing something about yourself, that you don't have to limit yourself either, because you are more than just hip hop street dance. Like, you really can do anything if you try. That teacher really pushed you to see
Yeah,
that?
Tracy pushed me a lot. Tracy pushed me to be out of my comfort zone because we did this other piece. That was her piece, but it was Metanoia, and that was crazy too. She had me like doing a push up, going down. It was right after I had my baby. She was like, "Oh, you're gonna dance." So I did a push up going down. I had Grace Vetter on my back, and Grace like had her legs up. It was crazy. Like Tracy opened my mind to like dancing differently, like thinking outside the box, like on some Paris Goebel type stuff. Like I was like, oh my goodness, Tracy, like you're amazing. So.
That's beautiful. Now, speaking of the baby, you were in college when you found out you were pregnant with
My
little
junior
Milan.
year. Yeah.
Talk to us about that, because that's a serious challenge you had to face.
That was a big challenge.
Helped get you to where you are now. Talk about that.
So, okay. So, after my anniversary with my now husband, but at the time, my boyfriend, I was feeling weird, whatever. And it was random because my mom had came in the house and she just random, like, you get that mom intuition, whatever. She was like, I just want you to take a pregnancy test. Because we was like cleaning the bathroom and she just found a pregnancy test. She was like, take it. I said, why? And like, she was just playing. She was like, just do it, whatever. And so I did. And it said positive. I said, huh? So I like put the water under the sink and broke it and made it look like it said negative. And I like drove over to my boyfriend's house and I was like, it said I'm pregnant. I started crying, freaking out, because it was also a big moment where I was like, my career was going up too. And I felt like at the time, I was not ready. Like people say, baby, stop and like stop you. And I was like, oh my gosh, everybody gonna be so mad at me. Everybody gonna be disappointed in me. Like everything you can think of was going through my brain. I took about 5-6 pregnancy tests because we went to Walmart. I took one and it said it didn't really say pregnant. It had like a little line. And then the next day I took it in the morning, it said pregnant. I went to Planned Parenthood, and then they told me I wasn't pregnant. And then they came back 5 minutes later and said, never mind, the line changed, you are pregnant. And I said, what? So then I went to urgent care, and then she came in the room, and I remember this conversation. She said, girl, it ain't no possible way you're pregnant. She said, this pregnancy test is negative. You're not pregnant. I said, okay. And I still didn't feel right with me. And I was like, I'm going to go to ECO Health, Caroletta's place. And I went in there and she was like, she took a blood test. And she was like, you're pregnant, but your HCG or something levels are up. So you got to go to the hospital to make sure you ain't having twins. I said, oh my goodness, twins. So I'm like freaking out talking to Braxton. Like I ended up calling my big sister, Damali, because she was pregnant already at the time. And I told her I'm pregnant. She was so happy. Like, we're pregnant together. I was like, what you happy about? What the frick are you happy about? Like, I was mad. Like, no, I'll be happy. Then I told Chandler, and she was like, whoa. And I didn't tell y'all yet because I was still like, oh. So then went to the hospital. They said, you're not having twins. Thank God. And I was like, okay. So then I told my mom that night. She made me tell my dad. And it's just like it felt like a whole like cloud of just gray. And then I sat down, I talked to Braxton because I was just so upset. And he was just like, you're good. You are going to be fine. Like, stop. Like, you're okay. I'm here. We're here. We're in this together.
Right.
Chill. Then I had to talk with y'all. Y'all was just like, Naya. Y'all was like, dang. And y'all was even questioning, like, are we going to lose you now? And, like, no one knew what the future held.
Right.
But then, like, the more I started hearing people, like, say stuff about, like, the more negative stuff I started to hear, and I kept dancing.
Yeah, you definitely did.
I was dancing, and I was just like, you know what? I'm going to just keep going. It is what it is. And I hid my pregnancy till I was, like, 7 months pregnant.
You really did.
Like, a few people knew. Like, I was 5 months pregnant in L.A. dancing at Club Jete with T. Howard and them. And I remember about to get on the plane going back, and they was like, oh, you can't. The hostess lady was like, flight attendant lady. She told me I couldn't sit in that seat because I was pregnant. And the girl next to me was like, huh? Shante was like, huh? And I was like, yeah. And I like opened up my shirt and she was like, where was that this whole time we was performing? I said, it's been here.
It was there.
I just, I don't know how y'all ain't know. Like I had a swimsuit on and everything. Like, but I just didn't emphasize it.
Yeah.
And so, I just stayed pregnant through high school, through college. And I remember like I had a situation with a teacher and she had said like, oh, I ain't going nowhere. And then I had to talk with her and she was like, dang, I'm sorry. Cause everyone was afraid to tell her, like everyone was afraid to say something. But I'm the type of person, like if I have a problem or if I'm hurt, I will express it to you. Like, yo, that really hurt me. And so I expressed it to her. She was like, I'm sorry. I didn't think about that. Cause she came from a different background where she was like, once people get pregnant, they're done. I didn't. So I was 9 months pregnant until Milan was ready to come out.
Yeah.
And it also made me come up with my slogan, like, never say I can't. And I always say that. Because I'm like, no matter how many people tried to knock me down, I kept going.
Yeah.
I'm like, I kept dancing. Even when people tried to say, oh, look at that big girl. Was not big. Like, but I was big to the outside world because I was a dancer.
Right.
And I kept dancing. And that drove me. Like Milan, like, she put a fire under my behind. I was ready. I was so ready. I said, I need to move for her.
Right.
At this point. Like, yeah, for me, of course. But now I need to show Milan, don't feel like you stopped me. Don't feel like, oh, I had a baby, so I couldn't do what I wanted. Because then I thought about Beyonce, Sierra, my mother.
Right.
Like, you see people that's doing it and still doing it. And I'm like, that's an excuse. Don't ever have that excuse of I can't, because I took Milan to class with me.
Yep.
Like, I did online class when I was like about to have Milan. And I remember my science teacher, she was not understanding. She failed me because she was not understanding that I could, like, it was hard for me to do online class.
Right.
And I tried to explain her situation, like, I'm about to be in a hospital. She failed me because I was in the hospital pushing out Milan. So yeah, I don't know, that Milan put a fire under my butt, and I still to this day dance for her, and now she's dancing for me.
She is
my little love bug.
Thank you for sharing all that too.
Yeah,
I think people really need to hear that, because I remember the day you told us in Chanel's car. Chanel is the other member in this group.
Car.
Yeah,
I remember people like how we was in a car.
We were literally in that car. You were in the back seat, and you told us, and we were like definitely shocked.
It was
and then
quiet. Yeah, I was like,
I think the next thing we said was like, okay, but finish school. Like, you're already
really
in
big
it.
on me about like school. Like, y'all
like, you're
helped
already
me a lot.
in it. You're already in it. Like, you already made the commitment. Not that if you really didn't want to, you definitely didn't have to, but it was like you were so close to the finish line. And I know being a part of the dance program and the theater program was so important to you. Like, again, going back to the point that you made, like, I cannot stop. Like, yes, I'm at this point where it seems easy to stop, or that's what's expected of me, because now I'm pregnant, so now I'm just condemned to this life of just like my dreams are on hold. And that's a false ideal that people have accepted for too long. Women, mothers are incredibly strong and incredibly capable of continuing their goals. I mean, we've seen it throughout history, right? Like you said, your mom is an example of that. And I think you were confronted with a situation where you really got to realize the strength that you had, just as an individual. Because you finished school, graduated with her degrees, still continued to dance and perform up until the moment she had to be in the hospital and deliver.
I wasn't playing. And I was teaching gymnastics.
And you were teaching still, right? Pregnant. And then you had Milan, and you still continue to dance.
Yep.
Like, you are incredibly strong.
Thank you.
And driven. For real. For real. Amen. Seriously. And I think so many women can relate to what you said about not necessarily saying that you dance like now the dance belongs to Milan, but like Milan is a part of that fuel.
Mm-hmm.
She adds to that fuel that keeps your flame, your passion for your creative career going.
Mm-hmm. It's like my favorite part is when I'm performing, I hear, oh, that's my mommy.
Right, yeah.
I'll be like, oh my goodness.
Right.
And then like we all perform and she'll be like, oh, my auntie, and my other auntie, they're all on stage. Right. And I'm just like, yep. And it makes her want to be on stage.
She's the next generation.
Mm-hmm.
Next generation CA squared.
Yeah. For real. CA squared next
For
GA.
real.
Watch
Next
out for it,
GA.
because in a couple years, y'all gonna see it.
Exactly.
Y'all gonna be like, they was just talking about that on the podcast.
Right.
CA squared next generation, baby.
Right. Now, considering all that you went through, you talked about choosing hip hop street dance, coming from like going into from cheer and then choosing hip hop street dance, entering college and realizing, like, kind of being hit with the realization that these dance styles are very different from what you're used to, but you know, I can tap into my tool belt and use what I got to excel in the program, which you did. You became a mother, you graduated college, you have a dance team. Like, all these things have happened to form the Anaya Nikole that we're seeing right now. Like, what can you say about all that? If you could think back on all those times, what are like 3 words you would come up with to like describe how they got you to where you are now?
Empowerment comes to mind right off the bat.
That's a standalone word, honestly.
Man.
I think that's honestly probably all you need.
Man. Like, that's all I could,
Yeah.
to get me to this journey, empowerment. I can't think of anything else. Because, like, empowerment for women, empowerment for Black women, hard enough. And, like, yeah, equality and empowerment against the odds, for real. That's what I say all the time. Because I always strive to be equal. Because what? I don't know. That comes to mind. That sentence comes to mind because being on the team, not our team, but Studio Creative, it was always like we were less than the boys. So I always say empowerment and equality against the odds, because even against all of that, we always stepped up to the plate. I always stepped up to the plate. Like, and I was always, like, people always doubted me. Even like when we did the Nutcracker and we were the mice, and like I was backhandedly chosen to be with the boys, and I was like, I guess we'll choose you because one of the guys was out, and I was just like, oh, you guess you'll choose me? Right. Now I'm gonna make you see me. Like, how dare you? Like, I could do what they can do. Right. What? Because I can't flip. I can hit as hard as them. I can dance as hard as them, and I can dance soft too.
Talk about that adversity too. Does it ever bother you that you feel like you experience so much adversity, or do you think you just? It
made me better. It made me like when trolls say stuff and when people say, I just prove them wrong. I just be like, okay, just watch me.
Right.
Oh, you can't do it. Like, no, I just be like, okay.
Right.
Take it on the shoulder.
Right.
I've heard worse. You know, I've been through worse. So you having your little stuff against me is nothing. Nothing.
Yeah.
It comes off as I'm a very humble person, and like I'm like real chill, and I'm really giddy too. I love talking to people, but when, like I said, I always get a fire when people do that. When people got stuff against me and try to do, I'm like, it makes me work harder.
Yeah, when people try to decide who you are,
I just never want to seem arrogant about it, but it's like, it's a thing where it's like, it's like I make people, I put a target on them after, like, oh, okay. Now every time I see you, you gonna remember that's Anaya Nikole. That's Anaya Nikole right there.
Right.
When I walk in the room, you be like, oh, it's Anaya Nikole. Shoot, what's she about to do?
Make a statement.
I just want to leave a print on the earth. Just a print where people are like, I remember her. I remember how she made me feel. I remember watching her and getting emotional watching her. Whether the emotional is happy, crazy, wild, sad. I want to people to remember that feeling.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
it all ties into, like you said, like how do I deal with it?
Mm-hmm.
That's my thought process, and I pray.
Right.
And I know when people have things against me, they have their own insecurities that maybe they wish to be careless. When I dance, I'm very careless.
It's like free with you.
Yeah, very free. Like when I say careless, I mean very free, and just like I don't care.
Yeah, that's your moment where you kind of just like bask in the sun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
literally.
No worries, no like fears. You just
Like I may like have emotions right before like I'm about to perform or something, but once I get on that stage, it all just like my body just moves. It's like an out of body experience. You just watch yourself like
right. Yeah. Well, could you tell us a little bit about your journey as a performer? You're obviously on a team, but beyond that, what should like our viewers know about your career has been like when it comes to choreography and performances? Like, what's been one of the, I guess, bigger challenges? Is it harder to go up on stage and perform? Is it harder to choreograph?
It's hard to explain because like it's definitely hard to choreograph because obviously you want to be authentic in your craft, but at the same time dance is always evolving. So you also have to add in a little trend, or you have to also make it pleasing for other people. So it's kind of that constant battle of what I like may not be acceptable to everyone else, or I may not get as many views, or people may not want me as much because of I'm just doing what I want to do versus a mixture of what I want to do and what the world is doing right now. Because you get caught up in that, I got to kind of do what's trendy. Like, I hate this song, but I got to dance to it. So that's the part of choreography that I hate sometimes. Because sometimes I want to dance to a jam, a throwback. Like, majority of the time, I want to dance to throwbacks, not current stuff. But at the same time, you have to put up current stuff because it's trendy and that's what people are looking. And if you put up that song, people are looking at it faster.
Yeah, and the trend thing a lot of it is like rooted in the social media. So you really are dealing with like a larger organism than just like a singular song then, right?
Yeah.
That's where that kind of comes from?
Yeah. And so like with performing, that's where I feel like home. I love performing. Any chance I get to like perform, not any chance, with some chances. But most of the time when I get a chance to perform, I just go full out. Because hearing a crowd and hearing people, even if it's like 5 people, that one person in that crowd could be somebody crazy. Somebody that's like, you don't even know that they're like, that like.
Change your life.
Yes, life-changing. So I always go full out regardless of what the crowd looks like.
That's a great advice for all the dancers, performers out there.
Yeah.
Don't just, you hear that narrative, well, I need the crowd to give me the energy. Like, you cannot do that.
Because honestly, you give the crowd energy. Yeah. Like, they get hype off of, look at her face. Look at what she doing. Like, no, like, if you're going to wait for someone to clap it up for you.
Exactly.
Then
at the professional level, you have to remember that you are the show. So you got to bring the fire. Yeah. And you kind of got to be arrogant when you dance a little bit. I ain't gonna lie. Like, when I get on stage, Anaya Nikole comes out. Right. I'm like, but then when I'm off stage, I'm really nice. Hello. Anaya Nikole here. Thank you so much. Right. I'll be like, oh, thank you. Like, because it's weird. Like, people come to you like, you are amazing. It's like, because, I remember, like, I know there are moments where we walk to a room and people are like, that's CA Square. Anaya Nikole. Oh, that's Camille. So it's like, it's weird for us, like, dang, we just normal people. Right. But then I forget when that music plays. Yeah. A whole different person. Right. For whole different people. And speaking of that, like, the whole Anaya Nikole idea, the persona, can you talk a little bit about how you built that as a brand? Because you are a performer who's really at this time in life, in society, where like social media is such a huge like machine
Man.
that people are sort of like operating in. How do you sort of deal with social media, and how has that helped you build Anaya Nikole brand?
So the way I deal with social media is I'll do some trends here and there, but I'll also add myself to it. So I'm gonna definitely add a freestyle to it. I'm gonna definitely cut off like sometimes it'll be like a boom, da da da. I'm go like, click, 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 da, da, da. Like I always add my flavor to it, whether it's my personality. Cause like if you see, you'll see almost every video. I'm like, like I'm gonna give you a face.
Right.
Like I'm gonna act it out. I'm gonna feel it. I'm gonna groove it. I'm gonna go full out.
Right.
And I think that's the difference. Like with social media, like you see a lot of people kind of like everyone, like we was talking about earlier, everyone is dancing for this box.
Right. Right.
And I like
that's the tool right now.
Yeah.
The vertical phone, that's the tool.
Yeah. And it's like, so for me, like I try to go out, like I try to go bigger, and like with me, like I feel like people know me as the freestyler, know me as my facials and giving you attitude and or giving you sass or giving you emotion. So I think Anaya Nikole is formed off of performance and being the same person, but ever so changing. So
yeah, and I think your background too helps guide you in that regard, because you understand, coming from a performance background where you actually had to perform for the public, and you grew up
with
within a team.
too.
Yeah, you grew up with performers within your own household, right? You come from you have an artist background, and learning how to perform for a crowd and learning how to choreograph bigger than your body, like bigger than your own natural extension. I think that helps you navigate this space now where social media, TikTok, things like that are so heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the structure.
Yeah.
You know how to challenge that. And yeah, you can use the tool, right? But you can also be expansive because you have this whole nother like knowledge that you come with.
Yeah, because I also like, even with that, you see certain dances and you're like, oh, that was cool. But then like I think like when I look at it, I'm like, that was cool, but I feel like if it had more energy and if they looked like they was having fun, because with TikTok right now, they just be like, yeah, I do this, oh yeah, and it's like I like to be like, what?
Right.
Like we about to hit. Like if we gonna do this, we gonna do this. So
as a dancer who uses TikTok, then how do you sort of carve out that lane of like dance with the real passion behind it? Because I feel like TikTok is so accessible right now because it is inviting to all. You don't have to be a professional dancer to learn to dance on TikTok. But as a dancer, like a professional dancer, I know that comes with kind of like walking through sort of like a not a straight line, or having to sort of figure out how your dance, your training, your passion is still shine brighter than just the generic sort of like dance.
Yeah, so the way I navigate with that is I try to bring, like I'll do some of the TikTok dances, right? But then I'll add styles to it. And then sometimes I even just freestyle for TikTok with the popular song that's popular. So then it's like people will see things differently from a different perspective, because it does frustrate me a little bit when I see it's hard because you'll see so many popular people and they be called dancers, and I'm not knocking anybody and saying like, oh, you can't be a dancer if you do this, but it's hard for me because I'm like, I'm so passionate, but then now this is being more popular and more passionate than actually like actually dancing. So like, also the way I navigate with that is I find the dances on TikTok So like there'll be two versions, right? There'll be the TikTok version. We all know what a TikTok version is. And then there'll be the dance version. So there'll be a group of dancers. You'll know if you see it, and they'll dance that trend. And then you'll see a group of dancers. They'll TikTok the TikTok trend.
It's people just like seeing the dance on and to recreate it like that.
Yeah, like dancers. You can tell what dancers will see that and be like, I'm gonna dance. I'm not gonna
just keep it in a
hit it. Walk. I look cute. I feel like TikTok is mostly about looking cute. If your appearance is clean cut, camera nice, then you have it. No matter how good, like say this camera isn't as clean cut nice, right? But this person is hitting it full out, going crazy. What's wrong? But their appearance isn't there. So
you are kind of fighting a battle with like aesthetic. You're fighting a battle with asserting that your style of dance and your training is worth seeing.
Yeah.
You're fighting a battle with just what's socially popular.
Yep.
And you're fighting a battle with just oversaturation, just with like so many people using this platform. And you're having to navigate how to best be seen and to best be spotlighted. And that's difficult to be a performer.
Oh my goodness.
At this time, not to say like this time is any harder than everything, because it's definitely not, because we have so much ease when it comes to just the advancement of technology. But we also have just like newer issues to face, you know. Yeah. But I think the beauty of it too, as a person of color, as a woman of color, as a performer of color.
Boy, say that again.
Exactly. You are
goodness.
literally tapping into all the avenues that are at your grasp to promote and propel the Anaya Nikole brand.
Yeah.
And you're doing an amazing job at it. You really are. You really are.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. That means a lot, for real.
On God and them, I appreciate y'all.
Hallelujah.
Oh yeah, my bad. Thank you, Anaya, so much for being a part of the podcast. This was such a pleasure talking to you.
It's always a pleasure.
We have these conversations often, but it takes on a whole new weight when you get to film it within this structure and for everyone to see, right? Because you have so much light to share, and I want everybody to feel the warmth of it. So thank you for being a part of it. That is a wrap on The Take. Always for the culture, hip hop and respect. Anaya Nikole, ladies and gentlemen, and anybody else.